Hi guys, hello. Thanks for watching. The last time we talked about how we break down data types into two separate categories. So the first one is the primitive data types, and the second group is the non-primitive data types that we also call the reference data types. These are objects, arrays, functions, and we will be talking about them soon, but not just yet, because for now we are focusing on the primitive data types. And the last time we talked about the string. We talked about how it is not an object, but we can still access its properties and call methods because of the JS magic that is happening underneath. And so we don't actually have to do anything, but it's good to remember that that's what happens. And so probably the most natural flow or the most logical choice would be to talk about a number now. But I just kind of felt like let's break the routine, and I've prepared something about a Boolean. And when I first got into learning about programming and data types, I thought Boolean was the most interesting. And it's because I never came across that word, Boolean, before.
Lean back.
And so it was like completely like black magic. What's that? Can you guys tell me? Do you know anything about Boolean? Would you be able to explain the thing? Boolean is interesting because it can accept only two values. It's either true or it's false. So if you are feeling like there is too much ambiguity in the world, and the world is so dynamically changing every day, so nothing is definite, nothing is certain, you're in the right place, because here in programming we have it either black or it's white. It's either a yes or it's a no, and there really is no space for a maybe or I don't know. So yeah, it's either true or it's false. In the example, I have created a variable and I called it active, and I assigned it value of true. So you can imagine that you have a password and it might be still active or it might become inactive. In this case, it's still active because it's true. And for now, I'm just presenting you the structure of an if statement, but you don't really need to remember it just yet. I just want you to get familiar with this so your eyes are used to or what it looks like, because Booleans are like super common. It's like everything, every program is built on Booleans. So you've got loads of different conditions, and then if this is true, this should happen. If this is false, then the other thing should happen, and etc, etc. So here we've got this very basic structure of an if statement. We've got a keyword that is if, and then in parentheses we would include our condition, and if this condition would be true, then in the inside those curly braces we would put a block of code that would be executed if the condition were to be true. Otherwise, nothing would happen. Well, in order for us to be able to use Booleans and the values true or false, we first need to get to know operators. And so we have different types of operators. First, we'll talk about comparison operators in JS, and not only operators but also operands. So if you have a look at the example, we have A greater than B. The sign of greater than, it's our operator. It's something used to compare two values. And A and B, these are elements that the operator operates on, and these are called operands. For instance, is 5 greater than 10? We know it's not, so it would evaluate to false. We also have double equal and a triple equals. And if you guys not familiar with this one, I would definitely encourage you to pay attention now because it's a very common question. If you're applying for a junior position, they do like to ask you if you know the difference between those two and if you could give an example. So now, as per usual, if you could open your Chrome, any side, I like to have it open about blank, and then F12, or if you're a Mac user, Option Command J, it would give you your dev tools. I will just zoom in so you guys can see better. And the top here it says console. So I'm gonna create a variable and I'll call it my sister's age. I will give it a value of 26 because that's how old my sister is. And I'll also create another variable. Legal age to drink. The legal age to drink alcohol in Poland is 18. And that's the value I'm gonna assign to my variable. Legal age to drink. If you can notice it, I'm using camel case and no underscores. But again, it's up to you, whatever you go with. I think this is the more popular choice though. And so, don't take my word for it. Let's see if those booleans actually exist, if those operators work. So let's check. My sister's age, is it greater than legal age to drink? It would return true. What does it mean? It means two things. First one being that my sister can legally go to a bar and buy herself an alcoholic drink, and also that booleans exist, operators of comparison operators work, and that's just a stupid example, but like if you have a site for adults and you want to, check if some conditions are met and somebody is going to enter their age, it's from a real world example. Well, we've got also like another comparison operator. I'm gonna create a variable. Let's go simple. I'll create a variable called C, and I will give it, and again, I'll give it a value of 18. And now let's see if our variable C is greater or equal to legal age to drink. It's true, meaning that only one of those conditions, or like the operators, has to be true for the statement to be true. So C equals legal age to drink. Those two variables have the same value, and if we use the operator greater than or equal to, it would give us true. You can play around. There is less than or equal to, and put anything you want for a better memorization of the material. The other thing on the slide, double equals and the triple equals, that's tricky, but if you pay attention, you can see that I have two numbers, but one is wrapped in quotation marks and the other one isn't. So this one is actually a string, whereas this is of a type number. And if we compare them with double equals, it would give us true. But if we do the same thing but with triple equals, it would return false. And why is that? It's because we see, is 2 equal to 3? No, it isn't. We know it's not true. We do is 2 equal to 2, but as a string, it's true because underneath, again, something we can't see but it's happening, JS would convert the number into a string. So also if you do this, 2 plus 2 but as a string, instead of adding 2 and 2 and giving us a 4, it would concatenate those, so converting a number 2 into a string. And we are receiving 22 as a string, new string. And the other comparison with triple equals, it works differently. So if we do 3, is 3 equal to 3 in quotation marks? It's going to return false. And it's because the conversion in that case is not happening. So this conversion is called strict equality. It would check if the value and the type are of the same type. If the values are equal but the type isn't the same, it would return false and the conversion is not happening. That's more or less what you should say in your interview if you are being asked this question. Another thing, another operator. What do you think should happen here? So we substituted a 1 equal sign with an exclamation mark, and the same thing happened with the triple equal. So in both cases we just took 1 equal sign and put an exclamation mark. So this is a negation. Whatever was the outcome before with an equal mark, if it was true, then if we change it to negation, it will take whatever it was and turn it into the opposite value. So if it was true, it will become false now, and the other way around. We have this one, got 2 is 2 equal to 2. And we take 1 equal mark and we put an exclamation mark, and now it's false. Again, equal, not equal. And the same thing goes with triple equals. Put an exclamation mark, and before it was false, but now it becomes true. Always the opposite. Okay, before we move to the next thing, also kind of tricky question, and it does happen that they would ask you that in the interview, is undefined equal to another undefined? And the answer is true. JS feels like even though this is an undefined value, this is equal to another undefined value. If we take infinity will be discussed when we talk about numbers. Is infinity equal to another infinity? Again, JS feels like infinity is equal in a strict sense to another infinity. But if we take not a number is a value of you will receive if you are trying to do some mathematical operation using, for instance, if you try to multiply a string and the JS will notice, listen mate, that's not a number you're doing here, this is not a number. And then, but if the question is not a number equal to another not a number? And the answer here is no. JS doesn't believe not a number is equal to another not a number. So I don't actually understand the logic behind undefined being the same as another undefined, but not a number is not this, not another, not a number. But this is what it is. We have to learn to live with this and to answer any possible questions or interviews so that you get a job. Okay, can go on. So values converted to false. In JavaScript language, certain values will always be considered as falsy values, as opposite to truthy values. So there's just a few of them, but again, you have to learn it by heart and just accept it. So a 0 and a -0 are falsy values. An empty string, and it doesn't matter, it could be double quotation, single quotation, or backticks. As long as it has no characters in it, it's going to be considered to be false. Null, undefined, and also not a number, all falsy values. And if you want to check if a value is true or false, there is a built-in function in JS, and it's spelled with the capital letter, and it's Boolean. As any method, we have the parenthesis here at the end. So if I put Boolean and I want to check is 0 true or false, it will give you false. It's false. If I do Boolean empty string, false. But if I do a Boolean and I put like anything inside it, quotation mark, so now it's not an empty string, it'll become true. Easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Next thing. An example of when values true or false are very useful. So, from the first slide, when I tried introducing the if statement, so we'll try elaborating a little bit. Here in the given example, I've created a variable that I called test. So I only declared that variable, but I never initialized it, so it has no value. It's undefined for now. Then we've got a keyword if, then inside the parentheses would be our condition. So if it's true, then the code, the block of code that is included in curly braces would be executed. So our variable test would take the value of a string, it works. And we're closing the curly braces. And we have what happens if our condition isn't true, then we've got a block of else. We put a keyword else, and that block of code will be executed in that other scenario if this was false. So if it's true, the first part of code is executed. If it's not true, the program will be moving on and seeing what we are asking to be done if it's false. And in that case, test would take form of a string that says conditions not met. So let's see if this works. So have a variable test as in the example, and it's got no value. So for now, undefined. And then if. I'm opening parentheses, and that's the time to put our condition. We can put anything. It's your condition. So I'm going to put is 5 less than 6. Is this true? Is 5 less than 6? It is. So test should be assigned a value of it works. Now let's close the the curly braces, close it, and let's see if test has been assigned a new value. It has been assigned a new value, and now our variable test is a value string, and it says it works.
It's working!
If statements are not the only possible structure or a pattern to use conditionals. So we also have a ternary operator. It's kind of popular lately, especially because it's so short to use. We've got like 3 operands, 3 arguments. First one, we have here an x, and in our case, it's a condition. It's always a condition. Then a question mark, and the first one after a question mark is the code to be executed if the condition was true. Colon, and the other operand, that is the code to be executed if the condition is false. Oh, I have a typo here.
There's a typo.
Sorry about that. If x is true, then do y. If it isn't true, then do v. That's what it is. I'm gonna try to show you on like a little bit more tangible example. Again, back to the console. You have a variable user name, and let's give it a value of nothing, an empty string. So far we've learned that an empty string is a falsy value. It's false. And now we're gonna create our ternary operator. So first condition, that was our x. Username, username, and then question mark, and then what should happen if the condition is true. Hello plus name, or username, and colon, and after it colon is what should happen if the condition wasn't true, so it was falsy. If we didn't give name, it should print out hello stranger. We already see that it does print out hello stranger. But if we now reassign a value of username and have it instead of an empty string that was by default a falsy value in JS, and we give it a name, Anya, because you know it's just literally just my choice. It's not because my sister insisted that I put her name somewhere in the tutorial. So Anya, and we try executing the same code again. Now the condition has been met because the username now is no longer an empty string, so it is a truthy value, and so it goes with the first block of code, first instruction, that is word hello plus the username. And so this first part of the code is executed instead of hello stranger. I hope this is clear more or less. So we've covered comparison operators, but we also have logical operators in JS, and these can cause a little bit of issues at the beginning because it's a little bit like it's something that you have to learn by heart, but then once you do, it's no longer an issue. So we have a logical operator of AND. Oops. Got double ampersand is in the normal human language, this is an AND. And so if we have an expression within an if statement, these are our operands. So these are like slightly different. So is 2 greater than 1? This is true. We know that 2 is a bigger number than 1. And on the other side of our operator AND is 5 less than 1. It's also true. So here both conditions are met, and this statement will return true. If we are using the double ampersand, that is an and, both sides, both operands, have to be true for the entire statement to return true. We also have a logical operator OR, so it's a sign of a double pipe. And if we do use the double pipe, again, I use the same expression here. Is 2 greater than 1? That is true. Or is 5 less than 1? It's also true, but either of those could be false, and it would still return true. So at least one condition has to be true for the entire statement to be true. We also have a logical operator that is a not. So it's the same as the like we already discussed before, and it will always give you the opposite value. So before we go on, so in the real world, if you try like engaging in some like the real world scenario, real situation scenario, if you want to go and buy cigarettes in the shop, you have to be over 18 or over, and you have to have money. So both conditions have to be met if you want to go to the shop and buy a cigarette. Better not. It's best not to smoke. But both conditions are true, then it will return true. You have the appropriate age, you have the money, you can go to the shop and buy cigarettes. Here, if at least one statement is true, so for instance, if you are betting money on sports or on card games, it could be either of those, but you're still a gambler. So either is true. As long as one of them is true, the entire statement is true. And not, it's kind of logical. So we have this triple equal sign. Is 2 triple strict? We're checking for the strict equality. Is 2 the same as the 2 in strings? We know now that is not true, so it's false. But because we put an exclamation mark, that stands for a not as a logical operator in JS, so it will actually be true now. And we also have an alternative to a Boolean function. So instead of placing a Boolean and then parentheses, and inside the parentheses the thing that we want to check whether it's true or false, we could put 2 times an exclamation mark, and that would also give us the same result. So in JS, we're kind of reusing the same like marks or operators and adding one more, and now it's a completely different thing. So if we just do one equal sign, that's an operator of assignment. If we do double equals or a triple equals, this is the comparison operator. And so if we do just one exclamation mark, it will change the value of a variable or into like the opposite. But if we do a double one, and let's reuse my sister's name, so it will give you the value of that in Boolean. So it's either true or false. And in that case, it's true because it's not an empty string. And last but not least, I have topic of operator precedence. So it's kind of similar to maths. So again, you have to learn which one is executed first, which one takes the priority, and once you get the pattern, then it's very easy to be able to like just not think about it, but just to see it. When you're a kid, we we get brackets, and that's how we learn which one takes the priority and which one takes the precedence. And the same happens with the operators. So first one is the operator not. First value that will be looked at is false, and this false will be turned into a true. So yeah, well, first and not operators, so we have false turned into true. Next thing executed or looked at will be the AND operator, so is true and true will give us true, and at the very end the OR operator, so false or true, at least one value is true, so the entire statement will be evaluated to true. And now the real last but not least, our homework. So yes, you can be lazy and just put it in your console and get the result, but I like for you to just have a little moment there and think about it. Think which one should be executed first and why. How does it go? Again, thanks for watching. Bye guys.